Okay, so that is everything. We have both shelves finished. Welcome home, Rep Pack. Marcus here, and welcome to Comfort Cartoons, the show where I collect absolutely everything from the late 90s, 2000s, all the way to the modern day. And I'm also trying to create the world's biggest SpongeBob and Nickelodeon collection. And the creator slash CEO of this channel is not very good at being spooky. But I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and if you guys aren't, you know the drill. Nickelodeon spooky camera flip. It's about to get a whole lot brighter, Rep Back, because your boy is here. So currently, you guys know there's a lot of renovations going on in the cavern. I'm gonna be updating you guys on some of those renovations coming soon. But today we are gonna be focusing on fixing one of my favorite parts of the collection, and that is the spooky section. Ryan, that was not spooky enough. Spooky section. We're gonna be working on the spooky section of the room here. There is a lot of different stuff going on. Like I said, I'm gonna break down all the different renovations we're gonna be doing in here. You might see some renovations that have gone on over here, but what we're gonna be doing is working on this section right here, and my goodness, this thing is a wreck right now. We used to have the girl lights hanging around it. There was a lot of stuff going on. We got figures still in a box right here. We got Gert eating pizza on top of those, because that's just not good, Gert. We've got Squidward literally face down into his hopes and dreams, and we've got SpongeBob here who just keeps judging me. He's like, really? Really, this is the shelf you put me on? But what we're gonna be doing, guys, is we're gonna be changing up this entire shelf. We're gonna be taking some of these pops out of here, adding some of our favorite spooky items into the background. Some of the pops are gonna stay here because they're perfect for actually putting some more figures on top of them. And we're gonna be adding even more. Like, I wanna add all of our Japanese Halloween SpongeBob figures down here. Some of my favorites in the collection are these guys. And also, we have to add these guys over here. Very spooky set of characters down there. All the different SpongeBob goth figures, the zombie figures from Asia. We need to get those in. And Ryan's gonna be adding a picture on screen from when I did a photo of two of our U2's figures that I showed in Halloween. I've referenced this before in other videos, but I added a green light to the background and it gave an awesome glow to it that I think would be so cool to have that year round. So today I'm gonna be going to the store. We're gonna be trying to find some green LED lights. Well, actually first we're gonna be going to the vault and we're gonna be looking for some of that spider web foam, or in Christmas time they call it snow, because I don't think we could find that anywhere right now with June. So we're very far from Halloween and Christmas, so I don't think it's gonna be easy to find that stuff, but thankfully I think I may have a bag or two in the vault. I just think that green fog effect that you guys see in the picture will just look awesome. If we have the green fog right here, then we have some trickly green lights coming down. You might have to move a little bit to see the collection. I think would be incredible, but for today we're gonna be focusing on making this whole aspect look beautiful, and whatever we can't fit up here, we're gonna be working its way down here. Right now, you can't see anything I'm seeing in my head. I wish you could, maybe you can, but we're gonna get started on working on this. Let's go pick up the stuff, and then after that, we're gonna be doing this thing together, and we'll time lapse every little piece. You guys will see exactly where everything's gonna go, because we're gonna be going over the items in here, kind of cataloging them for the cavern, and as I said, adding it back into the shelf in a very, very precise way to make it as visually as appealing as I possibly can. But since we're already talking about updates, let me talk to you guys about the other updates. So many of you guys know I removed all of the stuff that was in the air up here. My goal is to take from here, Ryan, give me some lines to follow my finger. From here all the way till here, going down, all of this a floor. I'm gonna make this a loft. That's my goal, but it is not easy because I want to make a loft we can actually go on. So I've been learning on YouTube. Shout out to YouTube. But I want to make it a loft that is going to be themed around Avatar, Ninja Turtles, and all the action-based shows for Nickelodeon. And then, with all of our plushies, and including the board games, I'm hoping we can make another loft over here. I mean, we're really just trying to max this thing out. For one, it'll just be sick, and two, it's going to make awesome videos for you guys. And I can't lie, selfishly, it's going to be a lot of fun. So, since there's going to be a floor up there on the bottom of this, there's so much we could do. We could put posters up there, we could put art up there, we could put a chalkboard, draw chalk zone stuff. There's so many things. But anyway, I'm getting way too ahead of myself. We're focusing on the spooky shelf, remember? I'm mostly saying that for myself. Let's go ahead and go to the vault, see if we can find that foam, and then let's go to the Walmart, Five Below, wherever we can find some green lighting, and let's begin. Okay, so update, I made it to the vault, and I got all the way in here, and I don't think that I actually have the spider webs. There's a bajillion cups and drinkwares in there, but besides that, in here we have some of our stuff for Halloween, and looking through here, I don't actually see any of the webs in here, unfortunately. I see our blow-up SpongeBob, I see our Blue's Clues jack-o'-lantern, I see the spider itself, but I don't see the actual spider webs, so I hope I didn't get rid of the spider webs that we had, because there's not going to be any way we can find any of that stuff in June. There's not close to Christmas, or like I said, Halloween. And then if I look inside the Christmas bin, we have the actual little wreath that we put around the room. We have the lights. We have the SpongeBob in here. We have a couple SpongeBobs in here. But if I just look at the side here, it's a little easier. I don't see any of that web stuff. So I'm gonna have to hope we could find that web stuff somewhere else. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to order some. There's gonna have to be a little cut between the timelines, and hopefully I end up finding it. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we could also just get like a plushie or pillow that's not very expensive, like, you know, and just take the fluff out of it. And we could use that for the clouds, but I don't know if it's gonna have the same vibe for sure. But I'm looking on Amazon, and they actually have it same day shipping for the spider webs. I mean, it's a little bit more than what you gotta pay for at the actual store. I mean, this one's only $6.99, but it's 1 day. We live in the world of convenience. I would like same day. But I might just order this and then see what we can find at the store. And if I can't find anything, then I might have to just rely on Amazon. But if I can find it, then I'll probably just cancel the order, which I don't recommend doing because they might not cancel it for you, but we're gonna see what happens. And also, that's my blinker, if you couldn't tell. So Five Below is actually closer than Walmart. So we're gonna go to Walmart to see if they have the spider webs, which I doubt they will. I've already ordered the ones on Amazon, which that should be a for sure thing. But we're gonna go to Five Below first. So keep the Walmart, keep the webs on the agenda. But what we'll see here though is that they have some green LED lights or some kind of LED strips for a good price that we can actually add to make the lighting for the clouds. So we're gonna be going in there right now. Let's see what they've got. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna look around too. Because they actually have some Reptar plushies and also some Chucky plushies that they actually have in stock a little while ago. Ryan will pop them up on screen. Don't know if they'll actually have them in stock, but we'll find out. Okay, in here for $5, they have the Proud Family Pops. I'm not gonna get those, but I mean, they also have these Walmart like signature series ones or artist series. I mean, these have pop protectors. Like that might even be worth it just for the pop protector, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave it for today. Okay, so they didn't really have much else in the store. Unfortunately, they didn't even have the plushies, but they did have this guy right here. And I honestly didn't even think about the fact that we could change the color. I was just thinking about that spooky green color, but purple wouldn't look too bad on certain days too. So it looks like you get a little bit more than 3 feet of it, which I think should be more than enough for what we need it for. And it's USB plug-in, so it's just perfect. So I think we're gonna pick this one up. I'm gonna look around a little bit more and see what the other options are, but I think that's gonna do it for us. All right, so I'm back home and I have the appropriate outfit too for such a spooky video. So what we're gonna be doing, guys, is decorating this whole shelf, and I'm also gonna be showing you the stuff that we're adding to it, along with cataloging it in the collection and on the channel. Some of the stuff you may have seen before, some of you may have not seen, but we're gonna break it down, take a close look at it, and also add every single item one by one into the collection back here. As you guys can see, everything is cleared up. We have a clean canvas now to work with. There's a couple little nicks and stuff like that here, but very soon you're not even gonna be able to see the actual top of these shelves because we got the spider webs, aka the fog or whatever you want it to be. This stuff is so cool and fun to play with. It's like playing with your grandma's hair. I don't know if you ever did that. My grandma never let me do that, but I imagine. It's a very weird sentence, but regardless, it's really, really fun for, of course, making spider webs, but I think it's gonna make an amazing fog. And we also got the lights set up. So you can see this one's the green one right here. I think that's gonna work perfect. So I think we're just gonna do a green light on this one, not the fog, just because I want to kind of keep it not too distracting, because the rest of the shelves don't have lights, because I want to kind of feature the items, make that the focal point. But since it is the spooky shelf, we are gonna add some lighting, but this one we're gonna do fog lighting. I thought about doing like a big overhead light too, but I think it'll make it too bright and too distracting in comparison with the rest of the shelves. So we're just gonna have like an under lighting here, just to kind of add that spooky vibe. But right now, it's all in my head until we break it all down. Let's go ahead and start. We have the lights, we have the grandma hair, we have the me, and most importantly, we have the you. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I have everything worked out in my head and also on this sheet of paper, but I don't know if it's gonna come out that way. We're just gonna take it one step at a time. We have the shelves back here so we can check it out and see the updates. And I'm gonna be showing you guys the stuff that I'm adding and also telling you why I think it should go in the creepy shelf. So starting off here, we gotta set the base, some of the bigger items that are gonna hold up other figures and be in the background of some of the lower figures. First item I wanna add is this guy right here, and that is the Krabby Patty Halloween edition that they dropped at department stores. We have the Franken Bob here. It's a huge piece. It just screams creepy. I just love it so much. Not just that it's a huge piece that can sit in there that just tells you already off the gate that it's kind of a scary shelf. And like I said, you can see it really, really well, even if we put a couple figures in the background. So this is gonna be our first piece that we're adding into our background here. But in addition to that, we're also gonna be adding some Funko Pops. So some Pops were removed out of there as we did some updates, but some are gonna be going back actually for right now. Maybe in the future if we get any other spooky characters that are bigger, they could also be going back here as well. But there are some characters that I felt like needed to go in the spooky shelf, even if they are going to be displayed at a side profile. So if I want to pull them out, we could show them in all their creepiness. And those characters being, of course, the Real Monsters. It was one of the first spooky shows to ever come on for Nickelodeon. Of course, now we have Invader Zim, there's Danny Phantom, but Real Monsters kind of did it first, being a show all about monsters. It was like Nightmare Before Christmas and Monsters Inc. before it was even a thing. So we have Real Monsters Ickis right here, who his power is actually to grow larger, and he becomes really scary just like this. His eyes go red and he gets his sharp fangs out. And all the Real Monsters, their powers are really just kind of based off of being able to scare. They don't actually use those things very, very often. But this is the 2017 Fall Convention exclusive. Probably the scariest of the group, so I can't wait to add this one back there. Oh, actually, before that one, what's going to probably go ahead of that one, closer to the SpongeBob Frankenstein box, is going to be Invader Zim. So the bottom shelf is going to have a lot of Gur, but this is one of the only Zim pops. It's got the Hot Topic exclusive, and it has Zim and also Gur. And he's got the world in his hands for complete world domination, as you know, that's our alien pretending to be a boy's goal. So we're gonna add this one there because that's pretty creepy. And going along with that Ickis that I mentioned previously, we have regular, the common version of Ickis. We have Obelina.
Perhaps we should stay here a little longer and wait for the good luck to sink in.
And of course, our man Crumb.
I love the smell of sewage in the morning.
We're gonna be adding all three of them into the background there, along with our scary version of Ickis. I would love to see like a more spooky version of these two characters released too. And these are some of the first Nickelodeon pops I ever remember getting, because they came out in late 2016, 2017. So kind of starting to get a little bit older. So let's go ahead and add all of these in there to kind of set our base. So now that we set our base stuff, we're gonna add a little bit more substance, and that's because I'm gonna show you some of the stuff we're gonna be using on the spooky shelf in order to fill in the walls and also the background. I wanna cover up that background so we can add some spooky figures in there. Let me go ahead and show you the stuff we're gonna be adding. So we got some awesome Nickelodeon magazines and also SpongeBob annuals here. One of the ones I think is gonna look great right in the background and match with all the orange and green vibes we have is this one right here, the Monster Halloween SpongeBob issue. This one was actually sent in by Little Looney in 2022, so thank you so much, Little Looney. It's gonna be added right into the background right here, so thank you so much for that. It's gonna look sweet, I think, just pinned up against the wall, and we'll have some other figures that are gonna be pumpkin related to kind of fit next to it. And like I said, we all know that there's orange back there, and you can see it from the other shelves as well. So it's gonna be cool to just kind of have that pumpkin kind of coming out of the orange and into the actual scene of our spooky background with SpongeBob and Patrick looking out of it, which I think is adorable. And then next up, we got the other SpongeBob magazine for Halloween, and this is the Nickelodeon magazine, the SpongeBob. And it adds to the vibe so much. You can even see Sandy and also Patrick in the background there with their costumes on. And we're gonna be having a lot of different characters that you guys are gonna see in a little bit here, like the Angry Beavers and also Pepper right here, who is actually trick-or-treating. So I think that'll kind of give into that trick-or-treating vibe. And I promise it's not all gonna be SpongeBob, but of course a lot of it is gonna be SpongeBob. But then next up, we're gonna be adding this book right here, SpongeZilla Attacks, a very, very creepy cover. You're gonna get SpongeBob and Patrick kind of screaming there. It kind of gives you that spooky, kind of terrified vibe. And then you have the very creepy SpongeZilla there to add into it as well. And again, with all that green, I think this is gonna bounce that green coloring off perfectly. Then we also have the Danny Phantom complete series right here. I'm gonna add this in. You guys can see there's a space in the corner pocket right there. I'm gonna be adding in our Danny Phantom bottle right there, just because you don't really get a lot of Danny Phantom merch. So I'm gonna add him in there. And we're also gonna be hanging some bag clips off of this soon as well too when we get those out. And you guys know, may have seen it in the background there, I also like to put our floating Patrick right here, which will be a PNG for right now until we get to that point. So I think this is gonna go in like that, and I'm gonna have the Danny bottle just right there to kind of fill in that space, because otherwise without this, I don't think it's gonna be fit in there perfect. So this will kind of give us that little bit of room to connect it to everything. And if I want to grab the Danny Phantom video to watch, we're pulling it out of the spookiness of the spooky shelf, which I think is gonna be great. And this was sent in by Brandon Summer in 2022, so thank you so much, Brandon. Then then also in addition here, we're gonna be adding to the Real Monsters Complete series. This one is still sealed. I've been watching it on Paramount Plus, so I haven't had a reason to open it yet, just to keep it in the collection. And I think this one's gonna go beautifully with all the Real Monsters pops, of course. And to really hone in that Nick vibe as a whole, because of course we're gonna add to this in the future and add more and more different spooky characters, hopefully. And I wanted to add in the Nick Picks Halloween, which it has a haired Tommy. This is the only time you're gonna see Tommy right here with the number 2 tape of fade. And then we also have, of course, SpongeBob, Otto, Timmy, and even Arnold back there who's dressed like a crook. So I want to add this one back there to, again, just kind of hone in on the Nickelodeon as a whole aspect over here. And I'm gonna come back to the sponge, of course. So I'm gonna be adding in the Halloween SpongeBob VHS because it's one of my favorite and most nostalgic covers ever. And we're also gonna be adding in the SpongeBob 2020 Halloween disc, which is sealed too, so it's just perfect for display. And fun little fact here is this is actually the same pumpkin from the original cover on the new cover, but instead of the top being on there, SpongeBob is popping out of it. So that pumpkin's been around for like over 20 years. So shout out to, I guess, the longevity of Bikini Bottom pumpkins. So we're gonna be adding all this stuff as little details here in the background. So let's go ahead and get started on that. It's gonna take a little bit of time, so we're gonna switch over there, and that's gonna set our base groundings before we start adding even more spookiness in. Okay, so I know it kind of looks a little weird right now. There's a couple missing spots, but I promise we're going to be covering those up. So let me show you some of the stuff we're going to be using to cover up some of those spots, and we're going to be adding more characters as well. First, right over here above our Frankenbob, I think we should add some of the Dutchman characters. He's my favorite secondary character in SpongeBob, and his spookiness is infamous in Bikini Bottom and also here in the cavern. So we have a few figures we're going to be adding back there. Those of you guys that know the collection very well may know there are some other Flying Dutchman stuff around the room that I'm going to keep it where it is right now. But we do have some Dutchman stuff we're going to be adding up there, and hopefully we'll be able to grow that with some more Dutchman stuff on top of our Frankenbob. So all of this stuff is just a work in progress, but we're going to get it as spooky as we can today. So first up, we're going to be adding this from 2011. This is by the company called Uncle, I believe. And they actually made this Dutchman right here. And he actually has like a CO2 tank on his back, which I don't think the Dutchman needs considering he's a ghost. And you'll see that his hair pieces are actually broken. They are ridiculously fragile. So much so that when I was doing the 360s of this, he still had one of them left. The other one broke a long time ago. I was doing the 360s of this. I moved it and literally the other one snapped off. I sat down as told by gingerly as possible, and it still freaking broke. So I honestly think it looks better with just all of them off at this point. And I don't really care that much about the particular hair pieces on this figure in specific, considering the one was already gone. So I'm just gonna be adding them in there just like that. I think it still looks perfect. He looks like he's got a ponytail like this. We're gonna be adding this one right here, which is from Mighty Jaxx. This one is the glow-in-the-dark one. There is one that goes over here with the actual set, and I'll be leaving that one there because I just think it looks good there. And then from, I think, Series 3 of the bag clips, we have the Flying Dutchman keychain. Flying Dutchman doesn't have that much merchandise, and I hope he gets more and more of it, but that stuff is just gonna be going up there, and like I said, as we get more, hopefully we can add more. I do have another one we're gonna be featuring later, but it's going a little bit lower down in the shelf. So all these Dutchmans are going up there. And then you'll see this little square spot right below the Nicktoons Halloween disc. And I think because it's already orange, it'll fit right in there really well. Our Squidward with the coffin. You guys have seen this figure before, if not, from the KFC Asia, where you have the breakable Squidward where he screams as you split him in half. Definitely has spooky vibes for sure. And he's got the ink coming out of the top as well. So I think this will cover up that little space perfectly, and the orange background will kind of bleed into it to where it doesn't take up too much space. I had an idea of putting a bunch of items there, but for right now, I'm gonna be just doing that. And maybe we'll get something like a little perfect card or something that'll go in there. Who knows, maybe I'll find something by the time I'm finished with this video to add into that little space, like a little Dutchman card or something that fits in there just right. But I think this will cover it up well. There's gonna be so much going on the shelf, I don't even think you're gonna notice that little bit of space behind him. Then next, on top of the Real Monsters and the SpongeBob Halloween disc, you'll notice there's this whole little strip of space right there, and I've already measured it, and it's perfectly spaced to fit in a bunch of little spooky SpongeBob figures. So one I'm gonna be adding is here, and that is Doodle Bob. I mean, in my mind as a kid, that episode in particular was actually kind of scary and definitely gave spooky vibes to me, and I was genuinely afraid of Doodle Bob at a point, so I'm gonna go ahead and add Doodle Bob in there. And of course, since it's got a lot of green going on in the Dutch Dutchman vibes, we're gonna be adding in the Dutchman SpongeBob. It is from Nick Asia. And you guys will notice that a lot of these products that we're gonna be adding in as far as the figures go, it's actually Nick Asia that kind of goes the spooky route more than a lot of the American stuff does. So you're gonna be seeing a lot of Nick Asia stuff besides like the Nick box stuff and the magazines and stuff like that. So then right here we have the Halloween SpongeBob, which definitely has, again, spooky vibes. He kind of looks like he's part of the Dutchman's crew, but he's still alive. So we're gonna keep him there too. And it's actually the variant to this one. And then of course, as iconic as it gets when it comes to the Halloween factor of SpongeBob, we have his first version of the Dutchman costume. And we all saw the second version.
Hey, what do you know? I scared him!
Well, I wish we didn't see it, but we've seen it. But the floating mattress, of course, we're gonna be adding that in that lineup too. And if you look right above Danny's bottle, if you look right above our Danny Phantom bottle, there's a little cork that I popped up, and we're actually gonna be sticking this Patrick inside of there. This is a spooky ghost version of Patrick from the episode where they became part of Dutchman's crew, and it glows in the dark too, so I think it's gonna look great up there. It did come with the stand, but the stand did not look spooky at all. It didn't really give it the same vibe. So I took it off the stand. I'm gonna be actually putting it in that little cork up there because I think it's gonna look way cooler. And one of my favorite figures in the collection actually is this Squidward from the actual Halloween episode as well too, where he dressed up as the Flying Dutchman. Well, at least until the Dutchman actually showed up. So I'm gonna be putting this on the back of that Danny Phantom bottle as well to help take up some of that space too. So we have a bunch of figures here we're gonna be adding in to fill in some space here. And then we can actually start working on our bottom floor here and adding in some of our smoke and some of our lights. So let's go ahead and add all these figures in. And like I said, then we're gonna be moving on to our lights and smoke. Okay, so now that we covered up a lot of that space, I do actually want to add in the other SpongeBob Halloween figures from that set. So of course we have the Halloween Mr. Krabs, like I said, that fits in perfectly with our pumpkin background there. I want to add in our Demon Imp SpongeBob, who of course you guys can see a whole video on this whole set on the channel if you guys want to go check that out. And also the original series as well. And we can't forget the pat back with the ghostly balloon with it. And then finally, I also wanted to add this crumb in there too. This is actually from the Nick box. It's like a porcelain candy dish, which like you have to be really small fingers to get candy out of there. But we have our little Dutchman inside of his mouth that I'm gonna situate like standing inside of his mouth. So if you peek inside of there, you'll be able to see he ate our little Dutchman here from the Kinder Surprises. I just think it'll be cute. So we're gonna add those to the top of those Funko Pops, and then we're gonna be working on our smoke and lighting. And you guys have already seen our grandma's hair, which is right here. And we also got some lights over there. I'm thinking about mixing green with blue because for some shows, they kind of use a blue glow for like spookiness. Danny Phantom, for example, it's kind of like an ectoplasm blue. And then for a lot of other cartoons, majority of them, they use that green. It's kind of that Dutchman-y green. So I want to incorporate both those colors into our smoke right here. I think it's going to look really, really cool. Hopefully we can pull it off decent enough. Let's go ahead and add those in. And then of course, we're going to have to add the figures in there too. So I might have to adjust those lights a little bit as well, because we're going to be putting figures on top of that like mist smoke. But I think it's going to be easier to actually add the characters on top of it and kind of pool the smoke over them than it will be to actually put them there and then work the smoke around them. So now you guys can see we added the light in. I think it looks fantastic, and we'll be getting a closer up look once everything is finished. But you guys can kind of see what I was talking about. I was gonna do an overhead light from the top that made the whole shelf green, but it would have been really distracting, whereas I feel like this is just a little light accent. From a distance, you can't even really tell that much, but then if we ever do a close-up shot, we're adding something new to the collection, then you can see the vibe. So that way it doesn't take away anything else from the rest of the collection. It's just enough to add that spookiness without being too distracting, like I said. So we're gonna be adding some stuff into that smoke though. So I kind of wanted to give it like a trick-or-treating kind of vibe. So at the core of this, where all the power should be coming from, is the Dutchman. So this is the Nick Box Dutchman they released. It actually has a light in itself too. I wish I could keep this light on all the time, but unfortunately it is battery powered. They did not have a plug-in for it. I wish they would have made it USB powered, but unfortunately it won't be having the light on. So hopefully we can just kind of add enough of the the glow in there to hopefully light him up a tiny bit. And in front of him, I want to add our two spooked out U2's versions of SpongeBob and Patrick. This is where they become ghosts, just like the Dutchman, so I think they're gonna look great right in front of the Dutchman, kind of like he just kind of casted some kind of dark spell on them to make them ghosts. And then for the rest of them, I want to add in some Nick characters in their Halloween costumes. So right here you can see we have the Nick box version of Daggett and Norbert in their Halloween costumes with the trick-or-treating baskets. Just so they're all kind of like Nick characters, kind of doing their own Halloween thing. And keeping that same vibe, we're going to be adding Heifer in there with his trick-or-treat basket. We're going to be adding the Angelica on the witch's broom with Fluffy, who looks creepily just like her. And Gurr, he is on the shelf because he has a Funko Pop, of course, on the shelf as well. And he's definitely got some of those green spooky vibes to him. And of course on Halloween you definitely love eating some food after, and for my family we would always get pizza on Halloween night, so I think that is a perfect addition in there. You've got Gert covered up in the cheese, kind of hanging out doing his thing, and we'll add the smoke around to kind of add around the pizza. So I think these are all going to be perfect additions on the shelf. And also on our Danny Phantom bottle there, I wanted to add in our glow-in-the-dark Squidward from the new Chibi's in Motion set, just because I think it would look really cute on there and it's going to kind of fit in with that green vibe. So let's go ahead and add these characters in now. Okay, so I think it came out incredible. I'm super happy with it. I love the way it's looking so far. But I told you guys, because we get so much spooky stuff in, and it's one of my favorite parts of the collection, I do want to add an additional shelf. It's kind of like a secondary shelf to this one. So we're going to do the lights on that one, and we're also going to be setting the base. You might see some stuff that's up here right now that we're going to be adding to that second spooky shelf. Even got some Aro Monster stuff left, and some very spooky SpongeBob figures you guys have seen in the back. But like again, because that one has light on it already, I want to add some light. It's kind of trickling down from the top. I couldn't find the rain lights that I want. All the ones that I could find, they're like 16 feet or at least the minimum 6 feet long, which is way too much. We just need enough for that little area right there. So I'm going to be using an LED strip light again, but they do have one that has like a motion that goes from side to side, and it adds a really, really cool, like almost poltergeist level effect to it. Let me go ahead and set up that light and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so you guys can see from a distance the light is not too overbearing. Like you guys can kind of see from down here. I'm at a low angle, but it's a very, very small light, and we usually film from like, you know, typically up here, and nobody's this low on the floor usually, so you can't really see the light when you're up here, and it just kind of makes it look like this cloud is kind of putting down this light. But what I love about this light is it actually goes from this direction that way. When you put the figure here, it actually leaves a little shadow on the floor that kind of looks, like I said, kind of like a poltergeisty kind of like frame by frame look. The camera really doesn't do it justice. The shadow is a lot more apparent in person too, but it adds such a cool effect. Like for example, let me try something a little bit more flat so you can see it. Maybe you can see the contrast a little bit better. There you go. You can kind of see the contrast a little bit more on camera, but it basically creates this little like frame by frame stop motion creepy look to it. And you can't even really see it that much from a distance here. You can just kind of see the shadow if you look ever so slightly on the remote kind of moving to kind of give this shelf kind of like its own movement. And it's almost like all the light is just kind of so powerful on top that it's actually radiating downward. I think it just adds an awesome effect to this whole shelf to create our secondary spooky shelf. So let's go ahead and add all the items. So like I said with the other shelves, we have to add our base. One of my favorite pops of the Invader Zim line is actually this one right here. It's Invader Zim with Gurr and also the pig. And this was actually something that they released before they even released Zim his own pops. This is the first way to get Zim. So I'm glad we're gonna be able to add this one to the collection. It kind of will do the same effect as the Frankenbob over there, where it kind of gives us a little bit more of a big stature piece to kind of show what's going on down there. And it gives us a little room up here to also display some stuff if we want to. But in addition to that, we're also going to be adding the Freddy Funko as Danny Phantom, which we do have this pop up here, the regular Danny Phantom on the top shelf up here with Goddard. But I think it just fits in so well there because we have Jimmy, Timmy, and the Danny pop. I don't really want to move, but this one has the Blacklight Battles box on it. I think it would look really cool on the spooky shelf on the secondary shelf. And then we'll also be adding the other variants of Gur because the other versions we have are the same pop. Like we have other Gurs in this costume here with a cupcake, one's glow in the dark, but I figured we just add the glow in the dark one here and also the pre-release exclusive one, which is him without the costume or partially without the costume. So we're gonna add those three in there for our base, and at the end of that, I did want to get something a little modern in there, so I'm actually gonna be adding one of the creepiest modern characters, or at least definitely one that has spooky vibes and I think would be a huge fan of this show, and that is Lucy Loud here. So I'm gonna be putting the Ah Real Monster sign behind Lucy, and we're gonna have her on the far right side of the shelf. So let's go ahead and add our base in there, and then of course we're gonna go ahead and add a bunch of characters and other figures in there too. Okay, now finally we're gonna be adding the rest of the Series 1 figures in there. On the bottom shelf, for example, we have our Witch SpongeBob right here, which flips around. I think fits with that frame by frame look down there really well. And then we're also gonna be adding our Jack-o'-lantern SpongeBob on Plankton, which I think is a perfect look too. We'll be adding our Jack-o'-lantern Gary, which I think what I wanna do also is get a little candle, a fake candle that I can put in there as well, just to kind of add to that effect. But it will eventually go dead because it's probably gonna be battery powered, so not in a rush to do that. And we will be adding all of the characters here from our Nick Asia series of spooky figures. These are the zombie ones that came with the regular crew and also with the quarantine crew, which I have to get soon. And all the goth ones we do have in the collection. So we're gonna be adding all of these guys down here, and that's gonna finish up our spooky shelf number 2. So let's go ahead and throw everybody in there. Okay, so that is everything. We have both shelves finished. You guys let me know what you think. I do think maybe the lights, even on the second shelf, are a bit distracting for me. I'm not 100% sure yet. I may try to lower the lights, like dim them a tiny bit, because I think they're a little bright, but it's hard to dim them because for whatever reason, that remote is reacting with the other one's remote, so I may have to just change those lights out, but you guys let me know what you think. I don't think that the top one is too distracting, but the bottom one is a little bit brighter now that we've added items in there, but I think overall, the entire collection came out incredible. You can't really see it too well here, so we're gonna get some close-up shots right here in a second. And also to light up the second shelf and give it a little bit more of a standout effect as well too though, we will be adding our Invader Zim, Gur, and also pig lights. But as of right now, the light bulbs in them did go dead. They did last for like freaking 2 years, so I don't blame them, but they did go dead. So I'm gonna have to open these guys up, put all the new lights in. That's gonna take time on its own, but do eventually expect to see these lights go around our spooky shelf because that's how it always was back in the day until I had to remove them due to the fact that most of them going dead. So I think that'll make them stand out but also cover it a little bit to kind of give it more of like a mysterious kind of vibe because they do kind of dangle and cover up a little bit of the collection in there. I think that's what you'd expect with the spooky collection, to have to kind of look in there really closely and see everything that's really going on. I think it was amazing, but most importantly, as always, I had the most fun doing it with you. So thank you so much for coming along with me on this journey from going to the stores to pick stuff up all the way down to building up every single part of this. So thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it so much. Shout out to our Patreons on screen as well, and if you guys aren't on Patreon, go check it out. I appreciate it so much, and it really helps with everything that we do here in the cavern and helps us to where we can grow and do even more stuff. So go check it out. For as little as $5 you can get on in there, get extended versions of this video and more, and you get a personal video message from me curated towards whatever you want. So go check that out. But without any further ado, let's check out this entire collection a little bit closer. You know the drill. Scan it! So that is actually it for this one, Rep Pack. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, make sure to smack that like button, subscribe if you're new here. You don't want to miss any of the other renovation videos we're going to be doing very, very soon here. There's going to be a big one coming up very soon in addition because I have something huge that we're going to be adding to the collection, and that's going to require a lot of movement. And of course, I'm going to be filming it and doing it with you guys along the way. So make sure you're subscribed. Again, if you guys haven't already, go check out the Patreon. You'll get an extended version of this video, behind the scenes, and a bunch of other different perks. So go go check it out. I couldn't recommend it more. And also don't forget we're on Whatnot, where you get $15 off your first purchase, and you can pick up many items you see in the collection over there for either free or a deep discount. So go take advantage of that free $15, guys. I say it all the time, but it's free money, and I'm a collector too, so I mean, I used it pretty quick. So go check it out, and check out this video on your screen, which is another video I know that you're gonna enjoy. But as always, a Rep Pack, I will see you beautiful people in the next one. One more time. Adios.